Welcome, students and teachers, to this Masterclass Explainer. Today, we're diving right into a rigorous technical analysis of environmentally sustainable business practices. Specifically, we'll be focusing our lens on AQA Topic 3.2.2, which is the environmental impact of operations.
Here's our roadmap for today's session. 1. Strategic significance of sustainability. 2. Methods of reducing environmental impact. 3. Application, the Sheen case. 4. Analyzing strategic operational challenges. And finally, 5. Impact on business competitiveness. Let's get into it.
Starting things off with Section 1, the strategic significance of sustainability.
Sustainability really isn't just some modern corporate buzzword anymore. It's a foundational necessity. By definition, it means conducting your business to balance economic, social, and environmental considerations. Essentially, meeting our present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. Honestly, true long-term survival in modern business completely depends on hitting this precise balance. And a really brilliant way to visualize this balance is through the triple bottom line framework. It splits performance into 3 pillars: people, planet, and profit. Social sustainability protects workers and communities. That's the people. Environmental sustainability protects natural resources. That's the planet. But here is the crucial takeaway. Long-term economic profit just cannot happen in a vacuum. If you ignore the people and planet pillars, you're eventually going to destroy your profit pillar too. It's like a 3-legged stool. Take one away and the whole thing comes crashing down. Moving right along to Section 2, methods of reducing environmental impact. So, how do operations actually achieve this balance in the real world? Well, it comes down to a few key methods. Take resource efficiency, for example. This means using your materials, energy, and labor to minimize waste while maximizing output. Then you've got managing the carbon footprint, which requires actively tracking and lowering your total greenhouse gases. And of course, sustainable sourcing ensures you're buying materials in a way that protects both the environment and fair working conditions. Think of it as putting an entire global supply chain on a strict eco-friendly diet. And this brings us to what is arguably the ultimate operational goal: circularity. This is an approach focused entirely on designing products and processes to reduce waste, reuse materials, and recycle resources in a closed-loop system. It's about taking the very concept of waste and completely eliminating it by turning it right back into a usable resource. All right, it's time to break out those notepads. I want you to build a logical chain of reasoning linking the implementation of circularity to a long-term reduction in unit costs and ultimately improved operating profit margins. Please pause the explainer now and complete Task 1. Welcome back. Okay, let's actually model the correct chain of reasoning here to secure those AO3 marks. Step 1. A circularity approach actively reduces waste and reuses materials. Step 2. Consequently, the business needs to purchase fewer new raw materials over time. Step 3. This directly leads to a long-term reduction in average unit costs. And Step 4. Therefore, assuming the selling price remains constant, the operating profit margin improves. See how that flows? Strong, connective analytical phrasing is the absolute key to linking these dots.
Next up, Section 3, application, the Sheen case.
Let's ground this theory in reality by considering Sheen's lean production model. They typically only produce about 100 to 200 pieces of an item at launch, strictly matching production to demand to severely limit excess inventory. However, we have to look at the broader picture. The fast fashion model faces intense criticism. Get this. Estimates suggest a whopping 8% of global carbon emissions come from the fashion industry. That is literally more than all international flights and maritime shipping combined. To counter this criticism, Sheen now claims its operations are guided by a quote-unquote sustainability mindset. Back in September 2022, Sheen committed to a really massive target, reducing its absolute greenhouse gas emissions by 25% by the year 2030. They intend to tackle waste and push for circularity at every single stage of their operations to hit this ambitious goal. Now, this is a striking move, especially when you consider that industry-wide emissions are actually predicted to rise by 45% in that exact same timeframe. Right now, it's your turn to apply this context. I want you to justify how this specific 25% reduction target will fundamentally change how Sheen chooses its suppliers and coordinates its global supply chain. Make sure to use the context provided. Please pause the explainer now and complete Task 2. Fantastic work. let's move on to Section 4, Analyzing Strategic Operational Challenges.
Now look, shifting to sustainable operations, it is not frictionless. In fact, it's incredibly difficult, and businesses face immense strategic challenges when doing so. First, there's operational disruption. Think about the downtime of recalibrating machines and entirely changing established workflows. Then there are supply chain limitations. You actually have to go out and find suppliers who are capable and willing to partner in a circular approach. And finally, there is the staggering upfront financial cost of implementation.
Let's actually weigh two of these massive hurdles against each other. On one side, we have implementation costs. Investing in new eco-friendly technology, training staff on new protocols, and sourcing higher quality materials can cause variable costs to spike, which absolutely squeezes gross profit margins. On the other side, we have supply chain limitations. You're dealing with distant supplier locations, immense logistical coordination just to recycle materials, and the sheer transport pollution generated in a complex global network. Deciding which of these is the bigger hurdle is a daily, very real challenge for senior managers. And that brings us to the climax of our analytical tasks today. I want you to evaluate these two factors and make a justified judgment. Which is the more significant barrier, the financial costs or the supply chain limitations? Weigh the arguments carefully on both sides. Please pause the explainer now and complete Task 3. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Impact on Business Competitiveness.
Welcome back. Okay, let's talk about the immense value of ESG. That stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance reporting. Disclosing this kind of data vastly improves transparency compared to older, much narrower financial reporting. Strong ESG performance is a game changer. It attracts ethical investors, builds a highly durable reputation, and secures deep stakeholder trust. Basically, it turns what used to be seen as purely environmental costs into a massive strategic advantage in the eyes of the market. But we do have to warn you about the massive danger of greenwashing. You've probably heard the term. It's the deceptive practice of conveying a false impression or vastly overstating the environmental friendliness of a product just for a PR boost. True competitiveness requires genuine ESG action. We're talking transparent, accountable, and measurable improvements. Because if a firm is caught greenwashing, the destruction of stakeholder trust isn't just bad, it can be swift and absolutely fatal to the brand.
So here is a thought to leave you with. The ultimate impact on profitability depends on the costs of sustainability relative to the long-term benefits it generates in market share and stakeholder trust. It really forces us to ask a tough question. In today's incredibly eco-conscious market, is the difficult, expensive operational shift to sustainability actually the single most critical survival strategy a modern business can undertake? Thank you so much for joining me in this Masterclass Explainer, and keep questioning the operations going on all around you.